All right, well, hello everyone. We're going to get started here. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Grateful you're here online on the Zoom, and you guys who made it here in person. This is going to be a great night. And my goal is that you leave with some actionable items that can help add value to your life and your real estate investing journey. So, quick background house hacking workshop. What we're going to share today is what is house hacking, how you can do it. We're going to share some strategies that we've used to find good deals, to fund the deals, and to get those numbers to work. So let's hop in. So first, who here has heard of house hacking? Okay, cool. So people have heard of what house hacking is. Oh, okay, real quick background. This is who we are. So my wife and I, we're Cal Poly sweethearts. I'm from NorCal. She's from SoCal. We met in the middle. We got married after going to Cal Poly. We stayed on the Central Coast and went into real estate. So we opened up the Schwaegerle Team. That's our logo right there. We sell houses, land, and commercial. So we do all three. That's why it's in the logo. And we're at Keller Williams locally here on the Central Coast. So we have two little kids and a third on the way. So our family's growing, and everything we do is for family, and that's really a big part of our why. And then we have a team here, so we've had admin, transaction coordinator, and 2 agents here on the Schwaegerle team. So there's about 6 people total that work out of this office with Keller Williams. So Schwaegerle team, our mission, vision, values. Our mission is to connect with individuals to achieve their real estate dreams, experience financial freedom, and love where they live. So financial freedom, we believe that real estate's the best tool for building wealth and achieving financial freedom. So the amount of equity you can create through owning real estate and investing in real estate is what funds the ideal lifestyle, which is how you get that financial freedom. And we want people to love where they live. We have a vision that California will become a happier, more wholesome state because it's filled with people who love where they live. So we can help you find a great home or help you exit California, depending on what you want to do. Okay, so what is house hacking? House hacking is a strategy where you buy a property to generate income off of it, which helps you pay the bills. So there's so many different ways you could do this. You can rent out a room, you can do an ADU or a separate unit, live in one part, rent out the rest, use rent to offset or cover your mortgage. Now, has anyone here done house hacking before in any form or variation of house hacking? Okay, no worries. Why house hacking? Okay, people ask like, well, why house hack? Some people haven't ever heard of this term before. What does it do? Ultimately, it's going to reduce or eliminate your housing costs. I mean, picture if someone else was paying your mortgage. What if someone could pay a quarter of your mortgage, a third of your mortgage, half your mortgage, sometimes more? And we've helped people actually achieve that through the house hacking strategy. And so once you've reduced your housing costs, you're just going to have that much more margin in your budget and in your life to do the things you love, to do the things you care about. So what I love about the house hacking strategy is it allows you to build equity while living comfortably. So when someone else is helping pay your mortgage and pay the bills, you're not carrying the load. So if something happens at work, if something happens in the economy, you don't have to worry as much because you have passive income every single month helping offset your costs. And this can be your first step in the real estate investment journey. I'm a big fan of the buy and hold strategy. So if you've bought a house, I like to tell my clients, keep it, find a way to keep it. We just helped another client close on a property where they rented out their first house we helped them buy a few years ago. They kept it, got that rental income to help them qualify, and bought them another house. So if you do that every couple of years, you can build up a sizable rental portfolio and retire on that income at some day. And you can leverage owner-occupied loans, which have a lower down payment option, which is huge for first-time home buyers. Okay, common house hacking strategies. I remember when I was growing up, I would hear a story. My grandparents, their first home was a duplex back in the 40s. They lived in a duplex. They were house hacking. It hadn't even been coined as a term at that point, but I grew up in a family where the lore was kind of ingrained. This is something you could do to help cover your costs. So I grew up hearing stories about people living in duplexes. Instead of buying a house, they bought a duplex as their first property. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting. You can even buy a triplex or a fourplex, and even more so have some rental income to help you cover your costs. Or you could buy a single family house with an ADU or like a basement unit, or do a conversion somewhere on the property, which we've done. You can rent out extra bedrooms. We just helped a client get into a condo, single, like first time buyer, 400K condo, and they're renting out 2 of the bedrooms, and it's helping pay half his mortgage. So he's able to really reduce his costs, expediting his savings rate. Garage or tiny home conversions, or you could even rent out space on the property. Okay, so what I like to tell people is it all comes down to comfort versus profit. So on one end of the scale, you've got comfort. The other end of the scale, you've got profit. You got to figure out, where on this scale do I want to be? Where can I be at this life stage that I'm in? So for maximal comfort, you could have a huge house, big lot, very turnkey, everything maxed out. It's going to be very comfortable. It's not going to be very profitable. It's going to cost you a lot of money. The other end of the scale, very profitable. You could live in the garage and rent out your house to a bunch of roommates, and rent out everything that you can on your property. Maximally profitable, very uncomfortable. So where on that scale do you want to be given your life's age and stage? And is house hacking right for you? So, okay, I printed out some worksheets, and wanted to get these out to you guys. And you can fill these out. So as we go, there's some things you can fill in the blanks. And
Thank you.
This out. Oh, here. There you go. So, first is like, why? Why house hack? Why would you guys consider house hacking? Anyone want to share with the group? Why would you guys even consider house hacking?
Retire quicker.
Nice. I like it.
Build that home.
Buy a home.
Buy a home. It just helps you get in, gets you started.
Buy a second home.
Buy a second home. I love that.
Yeah, we're currently renting our second room. I think that
Perfect.
when we moved in, we were like, oh, you know what? We're both used to living with roommates, and
Yeah.
now we move in together. It's gonna be a lot easier to rent a portion of our house
Mm-hmm.
right now that we're used to
Yes.
not necessarily
Yes.
having that space. And it has worked out really good. I think that out of the first 2 years of us living there, we're gonna have rented like 18 months. And I mean, that is close to 30 grand that
Wow.
you don't get.
That's
for free.
amazing.
Yeah,
30 grand. So what is the rental rate monthly for that?
15.
1,500.
Yeah.
Solid. That's a
Yeah.
great rental rate. Well done. So going back to the scale, you are over here, you're still in the more profitable than comfortable, right? One day it'd be nice to have your own house to yourself.
No, and that's the goal. We said like the first 2
Yeah.
years while we're getting the furniture set up, we'll like building like a
Right.
little nest egg, or putting accounts back into normal. We're
Yeah.
like, hey, let's help expedite this and
Totally.
still go on vacation instead of just like fully concentrated on doing that. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. We said, let's be tight on some
Right.
of the like day to day and make sure that our stuff fits and halfway
Mhm.
out. But we were able to still go on vacation, still go on night
Balling.
dinners because like, oh, the roommate's paying for it,
It's so
Uh,
nice. That
yeah.
little bit of buffer in your budget, because you had that
Mhm.
extra 1,500 coming in a month.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Anyone else want to share? All right. Okay, so yeah, feel free, fill out your 101, and we'll send this out to you guys that came. Thanks for coming. We've got these. We'll send you a PDF copy so you can fill out the worksheets. Why are you interested in house hacking? And is it right for you? Like, are you comfortable sharing space? Maybe house hacking isn't right for you. Maybe it's like, I don't want to share a room. I'm like way beyond that. I got kids, I got family. Okay, that's the setup that you're in right now, David, isn't going to work for everyone.
Nope.
What about a house with a detached ADU? Way more comfortable, right?
Mhm.
So there's different levels of comfortability that people can use to start their house hacking journey. And I mean, do you want to invest in real estate? Like, do you want to become a landlord? Do you want to manage property? Do you want to have investment income? I mean, it's a huge asset that is taxed differently, and there's all kinds of tax benefits that go along with it. So the government incentivizes people to own and invest in real estate and provide housing. Can you manage tenants or roommates? Like, do you have that grit? Do you have that resolve? It's uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to tell someone, hey, you parked in the wrong space, you did something. And so these are things that you can get trained to do, especially if you partner with the right team, because we've taken people from being green, fresh, I don't know how to manage property, to getting them set up on a property management software, vetting tenants, screening people, and collecting automatic direct deposits into their bank account. So you can go through that learning journey. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And are you willing to be creative to find and afford a home? Then there's all kinds of new laws all the time. California is really development heavy right now. They're pushing ADUs. Like, there's this new one called SB 1211, where if you have a multifamily property, you can add up to 8 detached ADUs on that multifamily property. So if you own a fourplex, you could add 4 detached ADUs on that property. So imagine getting in, buying a fourplex, house hacking that, and then being able to do 4 ADUs down the line. I mean, that's just crazy. So
What Senate bill was that again?
SB 1211. I'm a big fan of that one right now. And will your area allow for it? Like, are there restrictions on rentals in your area? You know, a lot of people think I'm going to do a short-term rental outside of my ADU, but technically state law says ADUs are for long-term housing, not short-term rentals. So be very careful as you approach that. So know your local rules and what your risk tolerance is, and if you can stomach it. Okay, so house hackers. My wife and I, we were thinking, how do you even buy a house in California? It's so expensive. I don't know how we could ever buy anything here. This is just crazy. And I was 25, she was 23. And one day a fourplex popped up and we did the math. A mentor said, oh, and you should buy this. And I was like, I don't know if I can. And we connected to a lender, which expedited the process. And we realized, oh my gosh, we can afford this. Like, this is crazy. And we got a fourplex, literally a fourplex. We lived in the smallest unit, maximally uncomfortable. Like, it was 490 square feet and we were living in a 600 square foot apartment. So we downsized. We're like, honey, we're not close enough. We need to get tighter. So we had to downsize into a smaller apartment, and we lived in it right there for 1 year. That was the requirement. Every loan says you'll live in this for at least 1 year, and then you can move out. So we went from paying $1,500 a month to somebody else's pocket, paying a mortgage, to paying zero, because there was 3 units generating $3,500 a month, and our mortgage was $3,500 a month. PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. So we were like, wow, we're saving $1,500 a month now. We stashed that cash and we did the buy and hold strategy, save up, buy your next one, and keep that property. So now it's a rental generating quite a good amount of cash flow for us monthly, which has helped us on our real estate investing journey. So it can be done. It can be done.
You're renting all 4 units right now?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So here's some before and afters, you know, old and then the new, you know. So we did a lot of sweat equity at the time, you know, just like get in there, do it yourself. Learned a lot. Here's the pro forma. If you ever need like a rental analysis spreadsheet, we've got a really good one I like to use, because it also counts up your appreciation over like a 10-year spread. And, you know, real estate appreciates, let's say 3 to 5% a year. So that, and then also your principal pay down. So how much you're paying down your mortgage. So you can see your equity accrued during that 10-year spread, and what your total return would be in the cash flow. And oh my gosh, I mean, this thing has turned out to be a really great investment. And we only put 5% down to get into this property at the time. Okay, so real estate sales prices, you know, last 5 years, things have really picked up. But as you can see, they've plateaued. Prices, this is SLO County data, they've kind of come down, and it's like kind of a good time to buy, actually, surprisingly, because prices are softer than they were. And this is due to supply and demand. Look, while inventory is high, prices usually, you know, stay low. It's all about supply and demand. As inventory dropped, we had like 360 houses. That was it in the whole county. We normally have 1,200. So we're seeing inventory pick up. That's why prices have softened. We're about 880 houses right now listed for sale. Month supply, we're still in a seller's market at 4 months supply. 6 months supply would be a buyer market, or stable, and then 6+ is a buyer market. Okay, I always like to share this just because why are prices so high? It's not just some bubble. This is actually supply and demand data. So if you look at these gray bars, this shows population growth versus homes built by decade in the millions. All through the boomer generation, we had 20+ million babies born in this country. We're building 20+ million housing units. And then look what happened in the 2010s. We only built 6 million housing units, but we still had 27 million babies born. They need houses, and there's not enough. So supply and demand. Some other things: land, labor, lumber. Land is baked in, right? That's the cost of just the land. They're not making any more land. And California coastal real estate is expensive, so that's why prices are high. Then you got your labor shortage. People aren't going into the trades anymore. They're going to college, getting those bigger degrees. So we've got a labor shortage, which is causing prices to go up. Labor costs rose 4.4% over the past 12 months. Trend is expected to accelerate, etc. Then lumber, just the cost of goods. Inflation hits everything. This was from like COVID era. $50,000 of lumber used to build 10 houses. And then after COVID 21, $50K of lumber built 2.5 houses. So, how can real estate housing prices truly come down long term? Yes, we're seeing this balance out, but long term prices are baked in. And this is like inflation in the US. I mean, it was really high. It was up to 9%. Now it's at 3%. It's come down, but still, inflation is going to benefit real estate because real estate is a hedge against inflation. So whatever the dollar does, whatever the stocks do, your house is going to be insulated against that because it's riding the tide of what the dollar does. Okay. Buy real estate because it builds financial security, wealth over time, DIY, sweat equity, cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, tax write-offs, and it's a hedge against inflation. So if we go back to 1960 and you bought a house in America, the average home was $19,000. Today, average home price is like $420,000. If you go back to 1960 and tell your grandparents, hey, this house that you just bought in like 60 years is going to be worth $420,000, what do you think they would say?
Buy more homes.
Right? Buy and hold. If that person were able to buy and hold till this date, they would have built massive wealth for their family, multiples and multiples of wealth. And so that's probably one of the number one things I hear on listing appointments. The biggest regret from people is, I wish I never sold that house. I wish I found a way to keep that house. So that's why I tell people, if you can hold on to it, do it. Find a way. It might be tight. It might be a little stressful, but if the average house in America is 420, we're double that. We're at 820 or 860 or so in our county right now. What do you think the average house is going to be worth in California in 60 years?
Wow.
Right? Let's say a 10x multiple. Homes are going to be going for $8 million, $10 million. Sounds crazy.
Okay.
That's what
But yeah,
your grandma would have said when we
Yeah.
told her what's going to happen, right? So anyway, if you can hold it, I really recommend it. Don't listen to the news. This data I took this from a conference I went to. It showed what the news headlines were. Housing bubble 2015. Prices rose 5.1% that year. 2016. We're in a new housing bubble. 5.4% increase that year. Homeownership doesn't build wealth, study finds in 2017. 6.1% price appreciation. It's better to rent than to buy in today's housing market. 2018. 4.1% appreciation that year. 2019, housing market's about to shift in a bad way for buyers. 4% price appreciation that year. 2019, next year will be hard in the housing market, especially in these big cities. Home prices went up 16% that year. Housing boom is over as new home sales fall to pandemic low. July 21, home prices went up 18%. Do you guys really want to trust the media? Clickbait. Don't listen to it. Listen to the data from your local real estate professionals. Okay, real examples. This is a coming soon property right now in San Luis Obispo. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath for $735. And I just ran some numbers. Ben will fact check this for us. 3.5% down or 10% down, 20% down. PITI somewhere around 5,700, 5,400 to 4,800 a month, depending on your down payment. You know, rates fluctuate. Renting out 2 rooms, just like David did for 1,500 bucks a pop, you're bringing in $3,000 a month. So your out of pocket living costs for this house, $2,700 a month on the high end, down to $1,800 a month on the low end. Can you imagine that?
The rent out of that whole property is probably what, like 36, 38?
Probably. Yeah, 3 to 30, 35 to 4,000 maybe.
I might be remembering this wrong, but FHA, isn't that for rural areas, or what's the rural?
USDA.
Oh, that's it, my bad.
Yep. Yeah, FHA is just like lower down, like 3.5%. Right now it's a lower rate. So it's always interesting because you pay more like mortgage insurance premiums on it.
Yeah.
So but sometimes people like it because you get a lower rate, which helps your payment out. So anyway, this is a conversation, but I mean, imagine 1,800 bucks a month to own this place if you put 20% down. That's the key, right? Even if you put 10% down, 2,400 out of pocket to own this place. Someone else is paying your mortgage, over half your mortgage, and you're building wealth in San Luis Obispo. And then in a few years, you can keep this as a rental. Like, this is like a solid way someone could house hack today. And then I have a 5 versus 10-year comparison. Basically, if you rent for 5 years, 10 years, you know, it could be $3,000 a month, 180K over 5 year, 10-year, 360K, zero return in both scenarios. If you own, you know, there is a cost to it, but the equity gained after 5 years would be about 179,000. Equity gained after 10 years would be 385,000. Hi, Christina. Thanks for coming.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. Okay. All right. Tools. These are tools. On the last section of your handout, there is a little section. So you can take notes on what tools there are, but this is rentometer.com. Has anyone heard of rentometer.com? Okay. It's super awesome. It's kind of like the Zestimates, but for rentals. If you're ever buying or investing in real estate, you don't know what the rental rate is for that market, pull up rentometer.com, go there and plug in bed bath count. And then it gives you a pretty good idea. I just plugged in our office here, said a 2-bed, 1.5 bath, and it says the average is 31. And then it gives you the data points for where these units were getting leased out nearby. So kind of cool. I highly recommend check out rentometer.com. Peerspace. Did you guys know that you can rent out other parts of your home other than the living components? Say you got a swimming pool. You can rent that out on Peerspace. Let's say you got a gazebo. Peerspace that. A barn. Put it up on Peerspace. I pulled up Peerspace for San Luis Obispo. I was kind of shocked. You can like see all these people, they're like renting out like, oh, look, a little hut, you know, $1,000. What is the hut for? I don't know. Region Event Center downtown. That's a little higher end, like 225 guests. You could have a party there. 4,300 bucks to rent that out for the day or whatever your party is. Modern Bright Farmhouse with swimming pool, $10,095. So there's Airbnb where you can rent out, you know, your house short term. But this is Peerspace. This is for birthday parties. This is for anything else. So if you have a cool asset that you own, you can put that on Peerspace and bring in rental income, because house hacking is about being creative. How can we find ways to turn your property into an income producing asset? One of our properties has a little tough shed on it. I'm like, let me rent that out. I put that on Craigslist. I find someone, she's paying me $100 a month for over 3 years now. And I just increased my property value, increased my passive income, $100 a month for a shed. I wasn't using it. So there you go. Find ways to increase your income. 8 steps in the house hacking process. We'll blow through this because I want to get to Ben. But number 1 step, really partner with a great local real estate professional, someone who's boots on the ground, someone who's doing house hacking. I always think that if you take advice from someone who's living it, it's going to come better than if you take advice from someone who's never done it. So if you're investing in real estate, you want to find someone who's also investing in real estate.
Any recommendations around Central Coast?
The Schwaegerle Team, you know, you should check us out. Then get pre-approved for a loan. That's step 2, because I get calls all the time like, oh, and I found the perfect property. I'm like, okay. They're like, I want to see it today. I'm like, yeah, it's a hot market. We gotta like get this process started. No, I want to see it first. And then they see it, they fall in love, and then they talk to the lender, and then they can't afford it. And they're like, oh man. So don't put the cart in front of the horse. Get your horse geared up first, get your firepower in line, know what you can afford. That is step 2. This is so important. We need to get you pre-approved so you know what you can afford. And even if you're not ready to buy today, if you're buying in like 6 to 18 months, get pre-approved now. Just start the process. When we got pre-approved, it was crazy how fast it just expedited the process for us. We didn't realize, oh my gosh, someone would give me over $500,000 to buy a property. This is amazing. You never know until you start that conversation. And they can give you tips, what you need to know. I'll let Ben talk about that. Okay, step 3, finding your house hack. Here's a few tips. We've got an app directly linked to the multiple listing service. You can browse realtor-like access. That's a great way. MLS access, and then all this, the websites, internet. MLS hot sheets. This is something that we go in daily. We're looking at. There's fields in here like coming soon, which sometimes they don't always syndicate out to all the other websites and platforms. So coming soon listings, we've helped our clients buy those before they hit open market, and it's pretty sweet. New listings, price changes, back on markets. Okay, tips. Search for high days on market. More motivation from high days on market. We're talking like 60, 90 plus days. In fact, we can filter in the MLS for the highest days on market. This one's been on for 1,097 days. You think that they're overpriced? Yes. Okay, 746 days, 660 days. So look at it in that order. We can pull that data quickly and look for maybe more motivated properties that have opportunity. Coming soon, I already shared about that. Back on market, we've bought 2 properties personally off of deals that fell out of escrow because back on market, the seller's like, oh crap, I packed, I moved, I'm ready to go. Like back on market, a lot of motivation. They're usually ripe for a good deal. Okay, key terms. So when you're searching the MLS database, you want to type in some of these like, hot buttons like price reduced, price drop, below market value, motivated seller, must sell, bank owned, or condition-based terms like fixer-upper, needs TLC, as is, handyman special, investment opportunity, distressed property. So those are some like keywords that you should be looking for and targeting, or ADU, or separate suite, or something where it's like, ooh, I can rent that out. Other ways to find deals not in MLS. Off-market deals, like we've done, we market to like pre-foreclosures, people that are distressed, they need help to sell quickly. And we do a lot of circle dialing in neighborhoods where clients want to buy. We send out a lot of mail, online ads. We run a Facebook group that you could all join, the Slow Real Estate Investor Meetup. Is anyone on that page yet? Hey, we post deals on there. It's a good spot. We've got 400 plus members and counting, and we do like quarterly meetups talking about real estate investor topics. Okay, make your offer, price, escrow length, terms, get it under contract, do your due diligence. This is where we save our clients a lot of money, is when we do our reports, inspections, and we renegotiate if we find material items. And then we get closing costs and credits before you close. Make sure you get your funds transferred, your insurance. That's a major thing right now. Get good insurance. We've got multiple quotes and vendors we use for that. Closing day, and then you get keys. So all in, process can take anywhere from like 45 days to 60 days start to finish if you have a really good team and high motivation. If you really want to buy something, we can make it happen pretty quickly. 45 days would be doable, but most people are like 6 to 18 months out when we meet. Okay, client reviews, testimonials. These are real life house hackers. These are people who did it. We've helped them achieve that goal. So Owen and Camille helped us find our first house hack, a 3-bed, 1-bath main house with a detached studio above the garage. They renovated it, and now it's going to cover 75% of their mortgage. Just one studio on their property is going to help pay for 75% of their mortgage. This one, we helped them get a duplex, and they've been house hacking it, and they've done Airbnb on it. And it's a legit duplex in county territory. So no restrictions. They're totally allowed to do it. And that has helped them buy their next home, which they're pretty cool. They go on vacation for months at a time and then Airbnb their house. So they're finding all of these ways to house hack creatively. And then this one, this is savage. She bought a fourplex and she's living in it and doing it. And she shares about how we sent it to her when it was coming soon, 7 days before it hit the market. We wrote an offer and we've pursued it diligently. And there was multiple offers, some of them cash, and we beat them out. So who you work with definitely matters to get you to the finish line and achieving your real estate goal. Follow us. We have a podcast, the Happy House Hacking Podcast. We talk about all kinds of real estate investing topics. We'd love for you to like, subscribe, leave a comment or review. And next up, we have Ben Lerner, the legendary lender who has closed very many deals for us and our clients. And so we highly recommend him for his lending team. And Ben, come on up here. So here we go.
All right. Yeah, and I'll actually, thank you, everybody. I'm actually going to let you guys guide me. So I'll talk for a few minutes, kind of give some ideas, maybe plant some ideas that maybe you're not thinking about from the financing perspective. And I'll let you ask me questions. And is there a chat for the online people?
Yeah, if you have
Online people, if you have questions, put it in the
Facebook.
chat. Yep. So I'll look for it. So this is, I just have a few quick slides, kind of recapping what Owen just said. Get together a team of experts, just like Owen said, apply for a mortgage and go through the process. And I'll make sure, we have what's called a fiduciary responsibility to you. My job, I'm a banker, first of all, and I recommend bankers over brokers. My job is, I'm not tied to the interest rate. I'm not tied to the program. My job is to do my best effort for you. So whatever's in your best interest is what I want to do. So similar to an attorney or somebody else, they have to do what's in your best interest. So we look at, my job is to determine, I look at the 3 C's is my acronym I use: credit, capacity, and collateral. That's what a lender looks at. What is your credit history? What is your capacity for repayment? Do you have job stability? Are you good at that? And what is the collateral? What's the house that you're looking at purchasing? So that's the way I look at your file. And that's really it. I'm going to go into the down payment right now. So I'm going to leave that slide, and then my contact is here. I don't know who this bald guy is. He looks old though. So I have a handout, and Christina, I'm going to hand you one of these too, but I'm going to talk for a minute. Let me give this to you. It started so small, but I want to talk about a little bit, kind of expanding upon what Owen was saying, some of the different ways you can use financing to achieve house hacking. Some things that people don't realize, about 2 years ago now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the government-sponsored enterprises that buy debt from banks, they set the rules. When you do a conforming loan, that means you're doing a loan that conforms to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So they set the rules. In San Luis Obispo County, you can do a conforming loan on 4 units for up to the loan, not the purchase price, for a loan up to $1.859 million. You can do a conforming loan for almost $2 million. You can do that if it's owner occupied with as little as 5% down. So you could basically buy a $2 million property, put down just over 5%, and be in a 4-unit property. If you move into 1 unit, like Owen was talking about, we use 75% of market rents on the other units to offset the housing payment. So you can qualify for a lot more when you're buying a multifamily than when you're buying just a single family. And the same thing, that low limit goes, it goes down incrementally, down to $967 for a single family home, up to the $1.8 million for 4 units. So 3 unit has a different limit, 2 unit, and then the 1 unit. But we use the rents to offset the debt service. So that's one thing you can think about. You can qualify a lot of the time. Let's say a single family like Owen was talking about is $735. Maybe there's a duplex for $935. Because of the rents on the duplex, you may qualify for that house that maybe you don't qualify for the single family, but you can qualify because of the rents on the duplex. Just to put an example in there. Okay? Any questions on that?
What's the basis for determining market rents?
Good question. When the appraiser goes out and does the appraisal,
Okay.
they fill in a form called a 1007. It's a market rent appraisal, and they use something similar to the rentometer that Owen was just pointing out. They'll research rents in the area, and determine what's fair market rents on that. If there's a lease on the property, let's say it's a multifamily and it's already leased, they'll take that into consideration. If they're low, they won't. They'll use market rents. Yep. So we can kind of manipulate that a little bit. Good question. Another way to kind of house hack is you could buy, let's say you buy a single family home. This doesn't really help on the qualifying, but it helps on the establishing a house hack. You could buy a single family home. Let's use Owen's example, that 735 house. Let's say it's got enough room to build an ADU, which in this, because of SB9, that's pretty much any room. So you can build, you can put an ADU on the house. You could do, using conforming loans, you could do a renovation loan to purchase the home and build the ADU and finance the whole project initially with as little as 5% down. So to say that another way, let's say the 735 house, and then you need $250,000 to build an ADU. You could do 5% down, finance that whole construction and close the loan. You're at a fixed 30-year rate if you want, and the rate doesn't adjust. It's set all the way through the construction. You get draws out, you build the ADU, and then you have another income source on the property.
That's only on a single family?
You could do it. No, you could do it. Let's say it's a 4-unit and you've got room to build ADUs. You could finance that as well. And again, until you exceed on the 4-unit, the 1.859 million, you could do as little as 5% down for all of that.
What would an investor choose between the two then? I guess it just depends on renovations loan is better if you need to do the rehab / construction on it.
Yeah, what the renovation loan does is it gives you the ability to finance it instead of foot the bill, right? And so the goal in financing is always you always want to have as much money at the lowest average cost. And so if you were to do a standard construction loan, it's at a higher interest rate.
Got it. Okay.
So by being able to do these renovation loans, you're actually financing at pretty much market rate. They're slightly elevated, but like 1/8 to 1/4%. So you're pretty much at market rate on these, and you can finance your project. It's just a simplified way of doing construction.
Both of these loans, you need to live in it for 1 year?
So when you sign yes, technically, when you sign, if you do it as owner occupied, everything I'm saying you could also do as non-owner occupied.
How much does that increase interest rates?
Biggest thing is it increases the down payment more than the interest rate. So you go to on a multifamily, you go to 20% down, but really non-owner is priced best at 25% down.
On the renovation loan, the situation you're talking about,
Mhm.
are they taking into account from a ability to repay? Are they putting in market rents on the completed ADU to?
Correct. What you're asking me is, does that change your debt to income ratio?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
If you're doing owner occupied, do you have to occupy it on the first year, or can you rent first and then occupy?
When you do an owner occupied loan, part of your deed of trust says that you're supposed to maintain occupancy as the loan type for the first 12 months.
For the first 12 months?
Correct.
Okay.
The deed of trust is kind of the document that says it's got the terms of your loan, and it basically says, in not so many words, in so many words, it basically says, pay your loan, no harm can come to you. Don't pay your loan, and it gives the bank the teeth it needs. That's what a deed of trust is.
Sure.
Yeah. So those are a couple other ways of thinking about house hacking that you can finance and kind of manipulate that stuff together. I handed out, I'm going to reference for those of you online. I'm going to, I can email this to Owen, actually, is what I'll do. Yeah, please take one. I'll email the PDF of this. And what I did is I did a table. I'm going to put this up just so you can kind of glance at it, although it won't come over nicely. But I did a table just trying to think creatively. I was using AI, which I'm 54, so this is a big thing for me. I did kind of an example of just $1 million purchase, and I did 5, 10, 15, and 20% down. I did that in the opposite order for some reason. But I wanted to show you just kind of some financing options using today's rates. On that example, we're at about 6 5/8 today on a 30-year fixed today. And then I kind of showed you what the housing payment looks like, and I just put in some estimations on hazard insurance and property tax for the San Luis Obispo area. I then wanted to show you first on the top section what the savings is in the monthly payment. So you can see that green number on the bottom line. That's just what the difference is in the down payment does between the principal difference and the mortgage insurance not being there. You have mortgage insurance anytime you have a loan with less than 20% equity, for the most part, you have mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is the banks are delicate creatures, they feel vulnerable, and so they take out an insurance policy against your default if they don't have 20%, and they give you the pleasure of paying that for them. That's what mortgage insurance is. So they're very generous with that. But I wanted you to see kind of that opportunity cost. Then what I did is I took that money, and on the next table, I said, okay, so let's say homes average, right now, the average appreciation on a home is between 4 to 6% over, depending upon how long of a span you look. Owen showed a slide of house appreciation over since 1960. If you go back the last 80 years, you saw just a little bit of wavering in a couple spots. Technically speaking, the only 4 years in the last 80 years where values have dropped was 2008 to 2011 during the Great Recession. So that's really in the last 80 years. You talk about an asset class. I mean, it's pretty amazing asset class to think about in that capacity. So real estate is like that slide that Owen showed. The line just goes up, and that's an amazing asset class for that capacity. So when you look at it from that perspective, I plugged in 5% appreciation on your home, and you'll see that the home value appreciation is well, I tied it into the net worth. But then what I did is I subtracted out on these green bars, and I said, okay, if you did less money down and you put that in an S&P 500 account at 9% average return, which were above that, I wanted you to see what the difference is in your return. And the question here is, okay, so how do you fill up all your buckets? Because you've got the real estate bucket, you've got your investment buckets. I just wanted to kind of propose an idea to you. And the idea basically is if it's not just the cash flow on your house. So let's say you've house hacked your house and the rents are working well. Instead of doing 20% down, maybe 5% works for you on a property. And instead you can take extra capital and invest it in an S&P fund. And I just wanted to show you what that looks like. And the reason I'm showing you that is because home prices appreciate based on market, not on how much you owe. And that's, so you always have to think about whether you owe $500,000 on $1 million house or $990,000 on $1 million house, that value of the home is still going to appreciate at the same rate. So it's a cash flow for you question. And so what I was just proposing is different ways to think about your cash flow. And that's what that line is. And it's kind of staggering when you look at how much you can make over 10 years. If you did 5% down in S&P fund, that difference $355,000 in your S&P fund. That's a pretty big difference. And that's just 9%.
But you're paying a little bit more month to month, right?
Exactly. That's where the cash flow comes in. So the variable would be how much is the house hack working? So just another way of thinking about it. I was just trying to think like Owen this morning. Try to throw something different at you.
So in that scenario, it's like, okay, you only put 5% down on the house, which on $1 million is 50K.
Correct.
And then the investment balance is 150. So instead of doing 20% down, you're saying take that 150K, invest that in an index fund like the S&P 500, and then over a 10-year spread, it's going to go up to 355.
Correct. That's a 9% return. And the house is appreciated the same whether you are 5 or 20%. So if that house is doing well and you're good with the cash flow, it's just another way of thinking about your money.
Ah, I see that. Oh, that's cool. Little graph.
And then you can take money out of that S&P 500 and buy another house. Just trying to work the idea. That's all I was thinking.
Nice. I like this.
All right, thank you. Any questions? I don't want to use up. I'm going to keep it for questions here and let you ask Owen stuff. Is there any other stuff I can? I will kind of mirror just to kind of wrap and then let you ask me anything while you think about it. It's really important to work with somebody that is in your corner. So when you work with Owen and Camille, I can tell you they're genuine realtors. They're liked in the community. They're good value people, and that makes a big difference. It's important. I like to share that my integrity matches theirs, which makes it easy to work with them. If you say something, you do it. We have a loan right now we're closing that we had to go around the corner on it. It's a tough one what we're doing right now for a young man buying his first home. He's still in college and he's buying his first home. And we had to go around the corner. He didn't have a credit score and we had to dance and sing. And luckily, because of Camille and Owen's reputation and because of the other agent involved, they were patient while we got it going. We needed a couple extra weeks to make it work, and we're going to close on that this week. And that's really important to have that tenacity, that integrity, and to make sure you're working with people that represent that. And so that would be my sell on Owen and Camille.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about if you own a home, you want to use the equity to buy another house. Go through like HELOCs or
Yeah, you
cash
can do.
outs.
Yeah, again, so if you did a HELOC, a lot of people think, okay, I need to do a HELOC to pull 20%. And what I would say, again, you want to borrow the most amount of money at the lowest average interest rate. So a HELOC is going to be at a higher rate than your first loan. So you would borrow the minimum on the HELOC to use as a down payment. But you could use a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, to pull out some of the equity you've obtained. That would be one way. If the rates are conducive based on where your loan was initially, you could also do a cash out refinance. And especially if the rate is lower, and you could pull money out on your house and use those funds for the down payment on a new property. So there are a couple main ways of doing that.
What about a second loan?
A HELOC is a second. It's a type of second. The reason I like the HELOC in this capacity, and you could also combine what I just said. I like the HELOC because think of a HELOC like a credit card on your house. It really shouldn't be a long-term debt. It should be a tool to use to access the funds, use it for the down, whatever. Ultimately, unless you're going to aggressively pay it down, you want to either finance that because it's a variable rate. You're tied to prime. So you're going to move up and down. When you hear the Fed's meeting and adjusting interest rates, the Fed funds rate, prime rate, is the Fed funds rate plus 3%. So
Okay.
you're tied to that rate.
Okay, so if you're anticipating Fed funds rate decreasing, then a HELOC would be better.
Yeah, but you can't count it. Like right now, everybody's expecting the Feds to come down in rates right now, but we could see inflation. We could see the rates go. No, there's no guarantee. They likely are going down, but and I would say probably 98% likely, but it's not 100%.
Yeah.
And you always want to remove that risk of variability.
And the HELOCs are variable. They're adjusting every time the rates adjust on a monthly basis.
Right.
Yeah, so you want to be on the high end going down.
Right. So if you weren't going to pay down the money you took out, you would look for an opportunity to wrap it all up together at some point when the rate is conducive to market.
Are these like I've heard them, they used to call ARMs topless mortgages because there's no top, you just get screwed.
They do have tops now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so they have tops. So
Yeah.
tell us about these tops that they're wearing.
Yeah, you can do you can do ARMs, adjustable rate mortgage. Honestly, right now, because ARMs, unless you're at a credit union, which controls credit unions sometimes do ARMs at a better rate than a 30-year because they use their portfolio money and then they don't want to lend out their money for extended periods. So an ARM is attractive. It's attractive to do a 3-year or a 5-year loan because their money isn't tied up that long. When you're dealing with a bank, where ARMs are tied to indices like SOFR or maturing treasuries, or they're constant maturing treasuries. So there's different indices that they follow. Those indices right now compared to a 30-year fix, it's not a big pickup. So you may pick up an eighth or a quarter percent. If it's really close, unless you're really, really tight on payment, I'm really conservative. I'll generally push you into a 30-year. But if you did an ARM and there is an advantage, and let's say it makes a difference between paying out each month on a house hack or breaking even or better, then I would say an ARM could be a good tool. Generally speaking, there are two types of ARMs. Most of them are 226s, meaning they can only go up 2% at a time, up or down, with a cap of 6% above the initial rate. And then there's also 525s, excuse me, which also has a cap of 5%, but it can move more aggressively up and down. So there are different types of ARMs, and that would be when it adjusts. So if you do a 7-year ARM, for example, it works like a 30-year fix for those first 7 years. At year 8, it would start to adjust once a year or once every 6 months, depending upon the program.
What's the typical spread between fixed and an adjustable?
It's not much. Right now, it's an eighth or a quarter percent on most programs.
You share about interest-only loans and risks.
Yeah, I mean, interest only, there are different interest only loans. There are some that it's ironically right now, some of the risk is coming out. So interest only loans are what are known as non-qualified mortgages. So Fannie and Freddie, we talked about conforming loans. Since the Great Recession, they no longer buy interest-only loans. So now they are what are called non-qualified mortgages. So there's no market with the greatest pool of loans, with the conforming loans. So now interest-only loans are with individual investors or people that will typically, just like I was talking about with the credit union, they use their money and then they're putting that on the shelf. So there's a little bit more scrutiny because they're tying up their funds. That being said, there are many interest-only loans that are now, we call them 30-year interest-onlys. And what it is it's the first 10 years are interest-only, and then the rate doesn't change. The last 20 years, the loan amortizes. It pays itself down. So the rate stays the same, but now it's paying itself off in a shorter period. If you get
Does
to
the
that,
payment go up?
the payment would go up at that point because now it's principal and interest over 20 remaining years. There are some 40-year interest only where the 10 years and then a full 30-year as well, but they're not priced competitively. The only reason you would do that is because during an interest only period, you can chunk down principal and your payment goes down as you do that. So your payment each month during interest only is based on the outstanding principal. Think of it like your credit card. If you pay principal down on your credit card on a given month, your minimum payment the next month goes down because your principal is lower. It's the same thing on the mortgage when it's interest only. If I have a $500,000 loan and I put $10,000 to it, now my next month's interest only payment is based on $490,000. Make sense? Ask me, Christian.
Yeah, what is the benefit of doing interest only on this 10-year interest only to 20-year amortized?
The advantage of any interest only is just giving you a little bit more freedom on the payment.
Is it generally less than a fixed 30-year amortized?
Yeah, because you're not paying principal.
Yeah.
So your payment is less. So it's like you can cash flow more. Currently,
Like a 10-year mark, does it kick back up then?
yeah, a lot.
Because you're paying
Okay,
principal and
that's-
interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you do that and then refinance it?
Refinance anytime, no prepays.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the goal, hopefully.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a tool to use.
yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on there?
What's it cost to refi these days?
Well, if you do a loan with me, if it's a $500,000 balance or over, they're free. We code our loans so that the loan officer makes less on the refi to cover costs. If you do just a normal refi, depending upon the loan amount, the title and escrow fees vary. But I would assume, let's say it's a $500,000 loan, just giving you a scenario that I use that number. Figure your fees are going to be about $3,500 to do that.
Hmm.
Oh. Yeah,
I have a somewhat specific question, but I think it ties into it.
sure. Fire.
Let's say you're living in a home, you want to purchase a new home, but your interest rate's too low to
Yeah.
justify selling it.
Yeah.
You want to rent out that home. Would a lender be able to take into account maybe 75% of what market rate is of the home that's going to turn into a rental in order to purchase the new property? From
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there are some rules on it.
Yeah,
You do need to have a lease agreement on it and a security deposit. Now, it's gotten a little bit tighter on that, but you can do that. If you don't have that, we can do a lease agreement and then order that same appraisal report called a 1007.
Yeah.
The appraiser doesn't actually even go in your home, they just do a report.
Yeah.
So we can use that, correct?
so it might be easier in the event that they're, thinking about doing it, rent the house out, get it set up.
Well, and it can be just, that could all be at the end. So let's say you buy a house and like it all happens quickly. You could get the rent stuff taken care of in the final couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
So you need that signed lease agreement with the renter to do this.
You do.
So.
Used to be a little bit looser and it's gotten tighter and tighter.
Got it, okay, yeah, because I guess that's exactly kind of what my wife and I want to do when we go into our next home.
Keep your departing and then rent it.
Yeah, but the logistics is tricky because it would be our first. It's our current only property and we would eventually want to make it a rental, so I guess the trick is. See if we can live out of parents for a bit.
Yes. Yeah, you can do that. I mean,
Rent it and then move out because
I got
we're looking to buy a new build.
Are we both going to live on Goldenrod again?
yeah,
Are you guys neighbors? His wife and I grew up down the street from each other.
No way. Are you both trying to get back to the neighborhood?
No, but
Oh.
our parents still live there.
Oh,
so
that's
we'll
awesome.
move back to the folks' house.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. That's
Our
awesome.
house too.
We're looking at Avila Ranch right now, like
Nice.
those big boys in phase 5 when they come
Awesome.
online, because there just isn't much like that.
Yeah.
Unless I can
Yeah.
convince my wife to do a renovation on a big house, but the renovation, I'll be thinking about that just in case I can help her find something.
And by the way, Owen was talking about the drop in builders keeping up with the need. When you think about housing, I analyze the market every day. I'm obviously it's my job to be in the bond market and looking at what's going on. So the data that came out today, month over month, we're 2.6% down on housing starts, single family. Year over year, we're at 10% down right now. So when I look at the security of the housing market right now and pricing and supply demand issues, it looks very promising. So it is a problem, and builders right now are lacking confidence because of tariff costs and other stuff that's passing through the system. It's one time, it'll pass and they'll get back to building. But for now, we are still in a lag from, as Owen was showing, from the 2010. We're still in a lag going through COVID. There was a huge drop, obviously. And when the prices went through the roof, remember when the supply chain stopped? There are lags, and those lags, it's not like you can we're already operating below what it needs to be. When there's a lag, you go a level lower and they just can't catch up. And that's what we're going through again right now. So I think it's something it's an issue. That's why you're seeing these bond issues come through the state where you can have a property in Philadelphia. I was just in San Diego over the weekend and I saw a few of these properties over in the San Diego State area where they took the lot and you're in a neighborhood and all of a sudden there are 8 ADUs mirrored, stacked behind the lot,
Yeah. they're
filling it up. It's
going
crazy.
So-
San Diego.
Construction supply is still too low because of these lags. But it looks like, at least for local data, that supply inventory is increasing, but that isn't from new build. It's not.
Those are
By
resales.
New build, those are people that are
Resale market.
Yes.
looking to sell. Is that delta right there between buyers and sellers that we're seeing right now, is that more just because of what is it? Seller's fatigue, I guess?
I think it's a lot of things. Owen may have a different perspective, but I think what I see in the numbers right now is that people don't want to separate, like Curtis said, you don't want to separate from their low mortgage unless you get what you want out of the house. So there's a little bit of contentment with where you are. And so there needs to be a catalyst to move, right? There needs to be a reason, buying a bigger house or, and people can't afford to keep it or don't think they can. So they sell. But I think there's a lot of reasons.
So, okay.
Fire at it.
Gotta share, okay, so we've been there in that situation, you've got a house, low rate, you don't wanna lose it.
Yep.
What do you do? And that's where we looked into the line of credit, opened up a line of credit, tap into your equity without selling it.
So my impression has been get the second mortgage.
It just.
For whatever reason, the HELOC feels
Access
iffy.
to it, you don't have to use it. You
Yeah.
just have it available.
Correct.
And if a good deal pops
Oh.
up, you can tap into that, that could be part of your down
How
payment.
much does it cost to get, like,
It's free.
okay, it's free to open.
It's like, think of it like a credit card on your house.
On your house. Sure. So you gotta be careful, cause it isn't interest only in the variable rate, but if you have it.
Don't go to
there,
Vegas on it.
never use it to buy a boat, don't do that, vacation, don't do it, just buy assets that
Yeah.
increase in value and produce cash flow for you. So we used a HELOC to help us move, like buy a couple different properties. Goal, always use that as a down payment, pay it down fast. Use it as a down payment, pay it down fast.
Yeah.
And we just helped a client who they did their first home purchase like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Appreciation, really great. We helped them get the HELOC set up so they could tap into, it was 10 or 20% down HELOC on their current house to go buy the next house. And they were renting this house out to help them qualify. So they were able to keep this house. And it was crazy. There was a lot of moving parts on this. Plus it was a VA loan.
Mhm.
So a lot of different things happening, but the key was like you said, right? You're supposed to rent it out before you close. But since they were doing the line of credit at the same time, because the line of credit is supposed to be for your primary.
Okay.
If the bank finds out that you're renting out your house, they're gonna be like, wait, you're getting a primary line of credit. Why would I give that to you? So they couldn't market their house for rent. So I recommend setting up the line of credit before you're under contract on your house, because then you just
Correct.
avoid that whole nightmare.
Correct.
But this was crazy. we got an exception and they didn't even require them to get a signed lease agreement and first month and security deposit. It was like a miracle. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's close. The underwriter just like, yeah, no, we're good. Let's just move
Their
forward.
HELOCs are extremely profitable for banks, so they want to make them. Again, it's like a credit card on your house. Credit cards are extremely profitable. The interest rate, any balance on there, it's a huge margin spread for them. So they like them. So they want to do them if they can.
If right now our regular mortgage rates are around that like 6.6, 6.7, what is the HELOC at?
You're generally, so prime is at 7.5 today. You're generally going to be prime thereabouts. Maybe it's prime plus a quarter or a half. Maybe you're right at prime. So you're right in that mid sevens right now. That's the rate though that's expected to go down. Right now, there are 2 more drops of 0.25% anticipated this year. That can change. It's all market dependent. Right now, it's pegged to go down up to 100 to 150 basis points, so 1 to 1.5% in the next 12 months. So we should see that rate go down nicely into the mid sixes by this time next year.
But you're saying rule of thumb probably about 1% above a regular house?
There's no rule of thumb on it. There's no rule of thumb on it. They follow different reasons. So there's not a direct, they're not tied to the hip. So long-term
Okay.
rates and HELOCs.
They move separately.
Correct.
Okay, so curious. All right, explain this to us because banks don't want you to borrow your down payment, right?
Correct.
How do you do that? Like,
If it's a HELOC, that's your equity. That's
Oh.
different than taking out like an institutional loan.
okay,
Like if you went out to a bank and got a line, a personal loan for 50 grand for a down payment, they would frown upon that. They wouldn't let you use that. So, but if you have a HELOC, you can write a check from the HELOC. That's okay. That's your own equity. That's all you're tapping.
401k as well, right?
401k is your money.
Is that one pretty much the only loan that you're paying interest to yourself?
Correct.
Oh.
Well, there's also other retirement accounts where you can do that, but yes. Yeah. Which is a great tool, right? If you're
Yeah,
gonna,
good too.
and we don't hit you for that payment. So if we, because we get the terms of your withdrawal, when you take out a loan, if you took out 50 grand from your 401k and you have a payment of $700 to repay that at, whatever interest rate you're paying yourself, we don't hit you for that payment. Because ultimately, if you decided not to repay it, it's your money, you just pay tax on it.
So then your income's still the same. So expense
Correct.
you're like qualified,
Correct.
right?
401k is a great way to borrow.
Ben, what are your thoughts on paying down points to get the rate lower?
I wouldn't pay down points right now. I think that if we were at a point where we thought rates were not going to go down, if that was the market, I would say pay down the rate if you think that's the case. Right now, generically 1 point, which is 1% of your loan amount, 1 point is generically about 0.25% improvement in the interest rate on a 30-year fixed. So let's say we're at 6 5/8 today. That means 6 3/8 would be at 1 point. That difference in payment would take about 5.5 years to recover. So cost divided by savings. If it costs you, so using our 500,000, if it costs you, that's a really easy one to work. If it costs you $5,000 for a point, and let's say it saves you 0.25%, that's about $100 a month. That would mean in that instance, it would take you 50 months to recover that cost. So until you eclipse that point hasn't saved you a penny.
Yeah.
And that's the way to think about
Especially
it.
if in the next like 2 years.
You're gonna
expecting
refinance.
that.
Exactly.
Calm down, hopefully.
So right now, I think the hope and any economist that I've read thinks that rates will be coming down. I'm sure there's Bill and Ted's House of Economy or somebody that may feel otherwise, but I would say it's very likely that we'll see rates coming down. There's a lot of pressure right now, so we'll see that there is. Monetary policy is too restrictive right now, is what we would say. It's too high, and that's because there's uncertainty in the markets is the reason for that. And sometimes you hear the political theater that's going on with that right now, and that is political theater. I would say it would be unprecedented to fire the Fed chair. That's not going to happen. And there's so many. This is all political theater to influence people, but not to actually act. That just won't happen. That would weaken our dollar. That would cause so many other things. You don't want the Fed and politics to be mixed together. And everybody knows that, including our administration. Like I said, this is theater. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
The FHA loan, it's advertised as 3.5% down here. I guess what's the difference between the other loans you were just talking about, Matt?
So you can do conventional financing at 3% down. FHA is a bigger bucket to fit into. It's a government subsidized loan.
Got it.
There's a funding fee for it. 1.75% of the loan amount is added to the back of the balance. So it's so you do a $500,000 loan, you got 8,250 that rolls onto the back of that loan. It's not a 8,275, excuse me. It's not a bad loan in any way, shape, or form. It's a good loan. And I was going to ask the online people. I know we lost one. Any questions there? I can see Nikki Russ. Hi, Nikki. Garrett Morrison. If you guys have questions, let me know. Please unmute and yell at me. Okay. And I see iPhone. iPhone is one of the people too.
Yes.
So, but the FHA is a great tool if somebody needs to fall into that bigger bucket. It's more of a catch-all. So I always describe the size of the bucket to fit into. FHA is much bigger than conventional. So that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac bucket.
Okay, effectively, can you get better interest rates or?
You have a better, you takes a pound of flesh, but you get a better interest rate. And it can be a lower rate overall, even with the funding fee added in and the mortgage insurance. It's really a credit-based decision, typically. So for example, somebody might be a 700 to 720, they'd be on the fence whether I would go conventional FHA. But if somebody is a 760 credit score, or excellent credit, the numbers are probably going to be more favorable towards conventional. They'll wind up matching FHA in the payment, but they'll have a lower balance on their loan, and they'll have a higher interest rate but lower mortgage insurance, which also means that they have a better tax deduction. So because the interest is the deduction, not the mortgage insurance.
Aren't they changing that?
It's going up now. We just got the SALT increase.
The mortgage insurance is not deductible?
No, I don't think it's deductible.
I think that's
Is that part of the new thing?
That they,
Interest.
I think they
right?
changed that in the big beautiful bill.
If that's, I haven't confirmed that yet, but if that is the
Yeah.
case, I didn't see that part in
Fact
it.
check me, but I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, that would be good to know. So, but they did increase the limits on the interest and the state and local taxes.
To
So that you
40K?
to 40K from
That's
10.
Huge for Californians.
Exactly. So your property taxes now, you'll be able to write it all off. Where for the last few years, we've been capped at that because they pulled it back. So that'll be helpful this next year. Good
Good
questions.
questions.
Curtis, you have one on?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christina, anything? Okay.
Just taking it all in.
Okay, sorry, it's a lot of data. You guys feel free to call me. I should probably, I know my name is up there, but I do have a card, or I can, if there's a list for a moment, I can drop you all just a contact email, and you're welcome to
Sure.
reach out if you have questions
Yeah, there we
and let me know. Yeah, thank you. But you can just let me know if there's anything I can do. Whether you use me or not, I'm always happy to help people kind of analyze and do it. It's kind of fun for me.
You have a card?
I do. I'll give you a card. I've got my wallet. I've got my wallet in my pocket. Anything, Garrett? I lost. We dropped off the other. I know we're running late. Is there anything else from anybody else? Thank you. That one's yours. That
Thanks
one's
for being
mine.
here on the Zoom room, you guys.
Thank you,
okay.
Garrett.
Helpful tools for your journey. All right. Did anyone fill in the first blank? Anyone figure it out?
Ventometer.
Yes. Okay. This one, number 2, biggerpockets.com. Have you guys ever been to biggerpockets.com? Amazing. It's got an incredible podcast, which helped me start my real estate journey. They have books on there. They've got forums. Basically, if you have a question about anything real estate investing related, it is an open, growth-minded community where people want to help each other. And our investor meetup is kind of like a baby of Bigger Pockets, because Ben and I were buddies. We met through Bigger Pockets, the forums, and we created a local community here of investors who get together and share what we learned. Okay, discover alternative income strategies through short-term event rentals. Did anyone know what that was called? Peerspace. That's right. Check it out. There's one for like rental space for storage. I think it's called Mustache or something. I can't remember, but you can rent out space. If you have a garage, if you have a shed, think about that as an income stream.
Can I add, I have a client in San Diego and she's a friend of mine. She's been Poway, she has a beautiful pool and she showed I just did a loan for her. She had $30,000 in renting her pool out last year.
Wow.
And she only does it like 2 or 3 days a month.
What's the insurance cost in that though?
I don't think
Pierce
she has
Space
any
does the insurance.
Yeah,
It's like Airbnb, like they help provide you that thing. So
And she
look
loved
into it. But
yeah.
does she use Pierce Space?
I don't know which site she uses, but she uses a site, they book it, they come
Yeah.
and.
They even have one for tents. Like if you want to put a tent in your backyard, you know, it's like an Airbnb, but for tents.
Glamping.
Glamping, it's called hut, something hut. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so okay, then the last one, apartments.com. If you want to do landlording and property management, this is a free to use landlord software. You create an account, you can have the tenants apply directly through the platform. They pay $29 one time. It goes to the credit check, background check, references. You look at it. If you approve them, you can automatically set them up to do direct deposit into your bank account. Super easy, no cost to you. There is like a 5-day delay, just like Venmo makes money on, you know, the balance sitting in the Venmo account. Apartments.com makes the money as your money is transferring, I guess, off of interest or whatever. So apartments.com is good up to 50 units. So you can manage a sizable portfolio on there for free. You don't need to get onto any of the major rental platforms, and we haven't had to yet. Okay. Any ahas, takeaways? What are you guys' thoughts? Section 6 was write down your takeaways. So I want to hear some ahas or takeaways from the group.
All the loan, yeah, the renovation loan, conforming loan, FHA, trying to do a workaround that Curtis and I were talking about. I've been trying to figure that out in my head for like the past 6 months, so no, that was cool to talk out.
Nice.
It was interesting with the multi-unit, 75%. I didn't realize it was 75% of market rate, even if the units are rented below market. Because I imagine there's a lot of these that are below market rented. You can come in, do the appraisals.
Right.
Wild. It's crazy.
That's huge.
But
Yeah.
great.
The fact that you don't have to leave your primary residence for like 6 months just to have like a history of renting, to be able to use your possible renting income as part of your income for a second house. That one was nice, because I don't know why I had thought that you had to prove that you had been renting for a certain period.
Landlord history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seasoned
So
income.
you
No, it
don't
makes
need
sense.
landlord history, you just need at the time of something signed with a deposit.
Do the banks like to see either landlord history or that you've been a homeowner
Okay.
if you're buying an investment, but you don't need to have either, but they're helpful.
Oh, if you have been a homeowner and you're buying an owner occupied, that's enough? That's all you need to
Correct?
be able to qualify that one as a,
Well, just to meet that criteria,
okay,
correct?
cool.
I was surprised to find that I have this HELOC sitting there waiting for me to use in some other.
Vegas.
manner.
Yeah.
No, not Vegas.
Hawaii, no?
But, no, because I thought that I would be, it was house hacking and investing. Where am I really gonna come up with that after, being divorced and financially being ruined? And I was like, no, wait a second, I got to keep the house. I have a HELOC that I haven't used. And I was tempted to close it, and the bank said, no, just keep it open, just for giggles. And I thought,
Cause they make money on it. That's what I
right, well, yeah, but now I'm thinking, it's just sitting there, I didn't use it, and so maybe I can now start to attempt doing some of this.
Well,
Yeah.
you could map out what that looks like, so you know what you can afford and what you can look for.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, we've used HELOCs to do like the 20% down to buy a rental property because that's a high, if you're not owner occupying it, it's tough to come up with 20% down. So HELOC helped us get there quicker. And then you got to pay it down fast. That's the real key. And then the other thing is HELOCs can be the down. Like if you're moving, you want to keep this house as the rental, you can keep the HELOC open and then move into the next house. Pretty sweet. So that's another way to do it.
Or if you're already planning a refinance, do like a cash out refinance and use some of that for your
Correct,
next,
Correct, yeah.
right, so that would all just depend upon the rate,
Yeah.
And if you keep the HELOC or not also depends upon what your average combined rate is. So if you've got
Mhm.
a 5% first and a 7.5% HELOC, and let's say your first is 300,000 and your HELOC is 300,000, I'm gonna tell you, well, we're gonna refinance and put those together at 6.5 because it's gonna make sense for you
Yeah.
to get rid of the variability.
Yeah, Ben helped us out last year do a cash out refi on our house to pull out some cash to pay down some variable rate debt that was looking a little scary because rates were pretty high last year. So thank you, Ben, for doing
Yeah.
that. Going back to this place, I just think like 735 for a 3-bed, 2-bath in slow, 1,475 square feet. It has a 2-car garage, which is begging to be converted to an ADU. Imagine using that loan to buy something like this and build out, convert the ADU. You could probably convert a garage for like 125 to 150. So you could finance that in. You could have essentially 2 units, for 735 plus the construction 150. You're at 850. You got 2 units in slow. And if you're house hacking, you could live in one of the bedrooms, rent out the other 2 bedrooms, or just live in the ADU and rent out the whole house.
And I should point out, because you have FHA there, you can do that renovation idea where you finance all of that initially. You can do that on FHA or conventional. That type of building.
Yeah. So
that kind of looks like a condo. Is that an
It-
HOA something?
I think it might be like a townhouse condo. Yeah.
There's a shared wall
Is it?
on the right side.
Yeah. So the cool thing is the state passed laws where HOAs, condos, CCNRs cannot prevent you from converting your
Great
garage.
series.
Yeah. Yeah. So the state is gonna there may be a CCNR that says you can't do that, but like state law has overridden CCNRs. And so a lot of
Okay,
communities.
so townhomes or even places that have shared walls, you're still allowed to do an ADU in a section of the house or split the house.
Correct.
some sort of
Yeah,
way?
like a garage
Actually,
conversion.
right.
Because
And then garage conversion, you can do a JDU too, which is a junior ADU where you don't even have to have a bathroom in it if it's attached to the house like that. So
Yeah.
you just put in a kitchenette. It's super
it
easy.
works great if you have a slider.
Yeah.
So our current house is it's a big house, 4-bed, 4-bath, but there's like a slider. And so we have a whole section of the house as like an addition that was done. That's rented out. And then we converted our garage and we have that rented out now too. So we're living in a beautiful 3-bed, 3-bath house with 2 tenants paying 1/3 to half of our mortgage or something like that. Yeah.
They live the life.
It's great. And then the cool thing about investing in real estate is the more you invest in real estate, you hold these assets, you can bump the rents every year. Your income goes up. The mortgage stays the same. It's fixed. So your income goes up, your mortgage is fixed. It's a hedge against inflation. You're building that equity, you're paying it down. So you're building wealth, which you can then tap into using lines of credit or whatever to go buy another one. And it just becomes this massive snowball where you can quickly grow that asset base to achieve that dream of financial freedom, independence, retire early, travel with your family, be with your kids. Because that's my big motivator. I want to be a present father and be involved in my kids' lives. And thanks to the sacrifice, the uncomfort that we faced, we put in our dues. We lived in the tiny little apartment it was 45 minutes north in Paso Robles, and it wasn't the best neighborhood. We sacrificed hard. It helped expedite our journey where now we have enough passive income where it pays our mortgage on our primary. So we don't actually pay our mortgage from ourselves. Our rental income pays our mortgages on all our properties. And so that's the thing that we want to help you guys achieve and do is how can you do that? And then, 60 years from now, when you're the grandma, you're like, I kept those houses. Yeah. Now they're all worth $8 million each and I kept them.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Grateful you all showed up, and I hope you got some value out of tonight.
Thank
you.
Thanks, guys, for hopping on the Zoom.
Please take some sandwiches home with you.
I'll make a YouTube video and send it out to everyone else.
Meet you when they want to.
Bye, Garrett.
Yeah, good to see you then. Thank you.